How was your mentals after Sir Nick Faldo bodied you on Twitter yesterday?
Sir Nick Faldo of 6 majors?
To that's a little bit of like people getting all hot and bothered when Dave like tweets like get pucks on net during hockey and stuff. It's like we were very much like Brooks Koepka fucked over Barstool Sports. Clearly there's a facetious nature to that. Foreplay is by Barstool Sports, brought to you by Chevrolet EVs for everyone, everywhere. All right, we're coming off the Masters. We're coming off the highest rated Masters or any golf tournament, according to the ratings from Sunday. Highest rated final round in 5 years since Patrick Reed. At first, I was like, more than Tiger Woods. You forget Tiger Woods had to tee off at like 9 a.m. when he won in 2019 because the weather delays. So for that time slot and everything, those ratings were crazy. But clearly finishing at 1 or 2 in the afternoon on a Sunday versus finishing at 7 p.m. prime time when the Masters always finishes is not going to deliver the same. It did this last weekend on Sunday. They played a bunch of golf because they had to finish the third round. You had kind of Liv versus PGA Tour. You had Rahm and Koepka. You had Phil made a charge, all kinds of stuff going on. So we could talk a ton about that. But a big thing I want to talk about is next week, Zurich Classic. We're going to be there. We're going to be there throughout the middle part of the week. Throughout pretty much most of the entire week because the Barstool Sportsbook is the official sponsor of the Zurich Classic last year. We had a presence there. You guys were there. Frankie hit an unbelievable shot. You got like a iconic moment with Chris Berman, which was insane. So we're going to be there in New Orleans all week next week, promoting the Barstool Sportsbook, the official sportsbook sponsor of the Zurich Classic, the team event. Ironically enough, that's where Trent and myself got into a little skirmish with the PGA Tour 6 years ago. We're doing a little trust falls with a couple of the fellows trying to build this team environment. That was the first time there'd been a team event on the tour, I believe, since the early 80s. And now here we are 6 years later. Barstool Sportsbook's the official sponsor of the event. So yeah, we'll see people down south next week.
I love New Orleans. I love the Zurich and I love New Orleans. New Orleans is one of my favorite cities in the country. I think it's, if I'm asking myself right now to rank them, I would put Boston number 1 and New Orleans number 2, but it's a heavyweight fight. So I'm very excited to go back to the Zurich.
Yeah, it's a fun place. It's really a great tournament. And, we got the King of the South, Mincy's going to be there. We're going to have a huge setup. Last year we had it kind of came together pretty quickly, our setup. I think that was on like the 9th hole. Right? Was it the 9th hole?
Yeah, what's that par 3?
I think it's 9.
I think that's right.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's 9. And this year I heard it's been blown out. We have a huge simulator in there, full swing simulator in there. You've got the whole VIP experience in there. You can come in, get drinks. You can meet all the guys. You can sign up for the Barstool Sportsbook. We'll be betting. We'll be making sure that we have some fun stuff to go on. So it's going to be a great week. Zurich Classic is turning into a must-attend event if you're in the New Orleans area because it is the players are into it too with the team aspect.
Team Fitzpatrick this week. Matt is right. His younger brother Alex is getting, and I think if they win the tournament, I think Alex gets his PGA Tour card. So no pressure.
Wow. No pressure on Matt.
We also have merch. Have we talked about that?
Oh shit, we do have merch,
custom merchandise.
We are in the tent. Tournament. So we've been in the Waste Management, we've been at the Players Championship, and now we're at the Zurich. The Zurich is going to have a New Orleans kind of feel to it. We have a bunch of cool T-shirts in there, hoodies, hats, the whole deal. It's really cool that we're just rolling with all these PGA Tour events now where they see how well that they do in the other tents, and they're like, we want to re-up for the next one. So this is if you're at the Zurich Classic, if you're at TPC Louisiana, you're going to want to go and make sure that you check out our merchandise tent or our merchandise setup in the tent. We'll be there meeting you when you get the shirt too, so that'll be cool.
That'll be cool or suck for you, either one. You don't have to meet us. You can just get the shirts and walk right past us. That's fine too. Doesn't really matter to us. Zurich Classic. So yeah, next week's a big week. Obviously, RBC Heritage, Hilton Head. This week, the lighthouse, beautiful lighthouse. That's what I always think of. 18 coming down there. Fine. It's always a letdown a little bit. Spieth won last year after missing the cut, I believe, at the Masters tournament. And then he came out and won. That 18th hole usually does deliver some heroics. I feel like it goes to a playoff all the time or people hole out there a lot. So it's, if you're still into golf, you can handle coming down from watching Thursday, Friday. You got 15 screens going on like it's Thursday in March Madness, Masters tournament to, they're kind of laying up at Hilton Head because it's a Pete Dye with all kinds of dog legs. Fine, go for it. if you're that big of a golf nut, maybe you don't have great weather, you're not outside. Golf continues to roll on. The tour just hammers, go, go, go. It's a designated event, which is preposterous.
Yeah,
right,
that's what I wanted to get at. Is just it's an unhinged decision, really. And I mean, it's stunning. It's stunning. All the guys are, except for Rory. Rory withdrew. Not entirely sure how that works because there was a rule that you could only miss one designated event. He missed Hawaii. I don't know. Maybe it's an injury and maybe that's different. We don't know until we hear from Rory. But I think these guys all want to go back to I mean, Masters Week, it isn't just the most taxing week for us. It's the most taxing week for them too, because they want it more than any other tournament. They show up there early. They're so focused from Monday through Sunday. They also, a lot of them have to do some corporate stuff. You know, it's kind of the Super Bowl of golf. So it's a very taxing week for them to have to now go, at least it's close by, but to play another designated event for $20 million. I mean, the tank's going to be running on empty. And you heard Jordan Spieth say already that he felt like his decision-making was poor this week because he played too much golf coming in. So I think it's pretty safe to assume that the schedule is going to look a lot different than it does this year. And it would be surprising to me if there's another designated event the week after the Masters.
You can't. That's just too much. And Rory injury or whatever it's going to end up being, like, that's a pretty good indicator that they should probably change the schedule. I am curious to see if it's not injury related with him, like what the penalty is going to be, because like you have to make it somewhat substantial for these guys to be like, oh, I don't want to miss 2 designated events in a season.
I think technically it's supposed to be you don't get your pit money. I think you don't get your pit money. You're not supposed to get your pit money, but he finished second in the pit, which was like $10 million. He's going to get that $10 million. I think Alan Shipnuck, I know he's come up a few times on the show, tweeted something where it's like the commissioner has complete say. All of these rules are what they are, and then the commissioner can come in and do whatever he wants.
Is that right? Because is that true? Isn't the tour isn't the board, which is made up of the players and all that, like don't they make the decisions? He can't really just like make calls, right?
I think there's probably a set of rules that and there's probably some clause. It's like the commissioner has final discretion. That's been something that has ticked off players in the past, is that they have all these rules on the board, but then the commissioner kind of calls the shots when the commissioner wants to call the shots.
Yeah, I guess they could just vote them out if they really wanted to.
Right.
You got to think, like, did they just make this a designated event this week so that no one wouldn't play? Like, if they didn't, nobody would play. Do you think that's the case?
I think RBC has been a big sponsor of the tour for a long time, and they have 2 events. One of them is the week after the Masters, and one of them is the Canadian Open, which is the week before the U.S. Open. And for whatever reason, this year the Heritage gets it. I would hope they would be Canadian. It's fine to have a designated event, I think, the week before, because you're building up. It's more just like the letdown that is just a tough aesthetic.
Yeah. Yep. No, I agree. But anyways, if you want to get your fix, you can obviously watch this week. It's a beautiful track. It's hard. It's Pete Dye. It's more of, like I said earlier, hit irons off the tee or 3 woods or whatever, lay it up, get it to the right spots. Everybody kind of second shot course, the whole deal. And it is stunning. It looks really, really hard for players like us that have to hit it pretty much straight all day. Really, really hard. So yeah, you can get your fix this weekend if you would like. We do have the Fore The Cut bet up on the Barstool Sports book. So if you're listening to this very late on Wednesday night or very early on Thursday, go check out the Fore The Cut bet. What did we come in at on the odds on that puppy?
Plus 385.
Wow. Okay, we're back a little bit. I feel like that's our sweet spot. We got Tom Kim, Keegan, Minwoo Lee, and Ricky Fowler all to make the cut at the 2023 RBC Heritage. Ricky's back, plus 325. Oddly, I think me and Kirk were texting about this. If Ricky Fowler was in the Masters, I feel like he would have finished top 10 last week.
Right, and he's got motivation from watching it and not being there. Like, he's definitely watching. He's watching all his buddies play. He's playing really good golf, and he's played great at the Masters in the past. Ricky continues to ascend, and this is a great week for him. He's fresher than the other guys. Last week, Rory screwed us, with the For The Cut bet.
Crazy.
That was mine. That was mine, and I apologize.
Rory screwed us. What a weird year for him. What a weird year. It really just speaks to how current form can change quickly, and how really, right? Because the Tour Championship last year, when Rory takes down Scotty, wins, he's on top of the world. He's the guy. It was the year where he was the face of the PGA Tour. He was kind of their spokesperson. He was their prince. He won the Canadian Open. He wins the Tour Championship, all that. People were thinking, God, the Masters can't come soon enough. August, or whenever the hell that was, August to like April, is he might at that point, he might not be the top 30th player in the world. Like, rankings wise, he will be, but like realistically going in, misses the cut by 1,000 of the players. Yeah, he played well in Austin and nearly got into the final match. But that's a quirky course, whatever. I guess like people could look now, you just kind of throw that out and then miss the cut by a million at the Masters is very, very bizarre, really, where Rory's at right now. And changing the driver's shaft and people panicking about a bunch of comments he had about the driver, the putter going to, the whole thing has just been, it's been kind of a bizarre month or two, I feel like, for Rory.
Brandel had an unbelievable line on Live From. I'm not sure if you heard it, but he was talking about sensory blitzkrieg. And he said
something about this.
He said that Rory McIlroy has sensory blitzkrieg between which.
What does that mean?
Blitzkrieg is like the German Nazis bombing people. Right?
I know,
so
but what is it? How does it pertain to Rory McIlroy?
I think he's talking about he's in all these meetings and he's trying to be one of the best players in the world, and he's talking about all this equipment stuff, and he's talking about the rollback, and he's bringing in Bob Rotella and his mental coach the week before, and it just feels like there's just so much going on, just sensory blitzkrieg. It feels like overload.
I don't know. I feel like that's been Rory's life for at least 2 years. Like he's always kind of in the mix, especially the last 18 months. I don't know if sensory blitzkrieg is the reason that he's not playing well. It might just be that he's not playing well.
When he won the tour championship, that was like as much sensory overload as someone could possibly have. He was like the voice of the PGA Tour coming up, beating Scotty Scheffler like that. If he couldn't handle that, he can handle anything.
I get that. I also get that it's Rory, but this is more common than watching a guy like Rahm and Scotty consistently be awesome all the time. Like he is Rory, but that's what happens in golf. You just don't play well sometimes.
Yeah, and I would say, if you look at an example of a guy who played extremely well throughout the mid and early 2000s, who had a lot going on all over the place, that was probably when he played his best. So I'm not going to say that having too much
sensory nuclear bomb. That was like
totally. It's almost like you need chaos a little bit. It's like Dave talks about with his desk, where he's like, I need chaos on my desk in order to have like the right proper amount of chaos going on in my life that drives me to figure it out and be on top of shit. It's almost like certain people need that. Now, Scotty and John Rahm are a little different, where they're pretty simple and like keep things that way. But Rory and Tiger might be a little different.
There are people who need that. I remember reading the Barry Bonds book that I cannot think of the name right now.
The Balco one?
Yeah, the Balco one. And they were saying like Barry Bonds had stuff going on in his personal life. He obviously had things going on in his professional life where he's kind of ducking and diving and like trying to avoid certain things. And people in his life were like, how is he able to keep it together? And he's one of those guys who just needs chaos and entropy. And he just thrives in all of that. And other people, it would completely fall apart.
Game of Shadows.
That's what it was.
What
it's
a
those
name.
It's those two San Francisco journalists.
Yeah, that's a great name for a book.
It's a great book.
Excellent name. We've been part of the Chevy EV family for quite a while now. We've got big news. The first ever all-electric Silverado is officially Barstool's most valuable truck. We have the chance to see this thing and experience it. It is a game changer. That is true. It's just a stunning piece of technology, I would say. Available 400-mile range. GM estimated on a full charge 400 miles. So you might be a little bit worried. You might be sitting there going, yeah, I heard these EVs are cool, but can you really have a lot of range? Can you take it for a while? You need to like recharge it. Is that a pain? 400-mile range. I think you'd be good on 400 miles.
400 miles is a lot. Like how many in a regular car, like when you
Way
can put
more.
a full tank in, how many miles can you get out of that?
It's more than I'm getting in my car right now.
Right.
I'm my gas guzzler. So I'm I'm perking up hearing this thing right now. I'm saying, what? 400? I'm gaining 100 miles and I don't have to put any gas in there. And it's a Chevy and it's an all-time American brand that we talk about in this show. Just, the people that built America. Chevy's one of those entities, one of those companies that help, move America forward with the emblem, with that bow tie emblem. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I'll sign up. Show me where. I got the pen.
Over 10 feet of length in the bed with the multi-flex tailgate combined with the multi-flex midgate, a large 17-inch diagonal display screen could tow up to 10,000 pounds of max towing. You guys got anything that you're going to need to tow 10,000 pounds worth of?
I do have a boulder outside my house that I might have to tow away at one point.
Okay.
It feels like it's 10,000 pounds.
0 to 60 in under 4.5 seconds. with wow mode up to an impressive 785 foot-pounds of torque. We're talking Chevy, Silverado, EV. Head over to Chevy.com to learn more now. I have to give a shout out to our boy Thomas Pieters, who was our first live guest ever a couple weeks ago. If you haven't listened to that, go listen to it. He threw his driver in the trash can, I believe, after the 10th hole in the final round, which I didn't know any of that. I just saw that quote come across. Threw his driver in the trash can, I think after he duck hooked one on 10, and then used his 3-wood the rest of the way into the final round and parred every hole coming in. So shout out to Thomas Pieters.
Shout out.
Just threw it in the old trash can. I'm coming straight from the doctor. I haven't been to the doctor in probably 4 years. Had a physical this morning. When's the last time you guys got a physical?
I usually get one once a year.
Having a lady in your life, I feel like helps you get a physical.
I didn't have one this year. I probably should go.
Or I feel like living at or near your home helps too. It's like you just have a kind of a primary care doctor your whole life. It's like I moved here 2.5 years ago and just forgot to get a doctor.
Yeah, I'm probably at once every 4-year clip at this point.
I like getting blood work done. It feels like you're fine. You're like getting a nice checkup on exactly what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Blood work is really interesting. How it makes sense. It's going to sound obvious, but it's just like your oil. They take the oil out of you and they run it, and they're like, "This is what's going on with this car right now." And it's crazy how much it tells you.
Yeah.
I'm going through something right now. I got some sort of stomach virus or food poisoning. I had a bad chicken Caesar wrap yesterday or something. Something happened to me. I've been shitting like crazy. It's just not a good feeling, like where you just can't shake it. Because whenever you have like a tummy ache, you just run to the bathroom, you go, and then it's like over. And then you're just like, all right, I feel better, move on with my day. And then like with something like this, you like go, you lay down, and then you're just like, I gotta go get, like I have to go again. And then you lay down, you're like, I have to go again. And then you start getting like lightheaded. I'm like, what's happening? I'm drinking BioLite, I'm drinking all this stuff. It's crazy. I can't catch up.
Dude, you can't. You become so
I'm like, I feel like I'm drained.
You're gone.
You become so dehydrated because you're just putting everything that goes through you comes right out the bottom of you. And then when you try to like rehydrate, it just comes out the bottom of you.
And it's my mom's birthday today, and they're going to hibachi. And I'm like thinking, how am I gonna make that, Ma? Like, you know, how am I gonna make you can't combine
sit this one out.
Can you combine like a stomach virus and a worse dinner choice?
It's
Indian food.
Indian food.
Dude, hibachi. Like, wow. I remember one of my favorite memories as a family. We would go to this place, Shiro, Japan, and we would all in the car home. We'd all pick which like bathroom. I'm gonna go to the upstairs bathroom. You go to the middle bathroom. Someone goes in the basement. And we would like call our bathrooms on the way home because you just had to go after you go to hibachi. You can't even make it the 20-minute ride home. You can't.
Did you guys have hot restaurants around you at all?
Who? What are you, an
Hot?
owl?
HUHOT, all one word. It's like a Mongolian. They make it in front of you. You get in line and you pick all your ingredients, and then you take it to the guy, and he makes it in front of you. That was the one for our family where if you ate it, nobody made it home. It was like a 15-minute drive home, and you had to stop at a gas station and be like, I got to take a shit.
I have to say too, last night I did another Boston market run, and now all of a sudden they've stopped. They don't even give you the thing anymore, which is bizarre. And somebody was a bunch of people messaged me, but somebody was like, that's from the processors. It doesn't even come from the restaurant. It's like just for the processors or something where they do the tip thing. Now they're not even doing it, which I don't understand. And I could understand if it was the same people being like, this fucking asshole is not going to tip us, but it's completely different people and they just stopped doing it. But went to Boston Market last night at like 6:30 or something to pick up dinner. And the Boston Market over here is right next to the Taco Bell. Not a single car in sight at Boston Market. And I mean 12 cars maybe in the Taco Bell drive-through line.
Taco Bell's legit, man.
It just gave me a quick, like, that sums up America, like, so perfectly right there.
Tacos are fucking awesome, and they've perfected it to be like that delicious fast food addicting taste. They've somehow made tacos better. Like they make them more addicting than they should be. Something about the sour cream, something about the Crunchwrap Supreme, something about the way they do it. It's just fucking perfect.
I got it the other night, and
it's so good.
And not only do they make the
cheesy queso potatoes,
I love the Chalupa Supreme. I love the cheesy gordita crunch. But then when you're really just in it and you're like, I'm doing it, so I might as well do it to its maximum, is when you get the Cinnabon Delights, and they're just the little poppers that you just boom, boom, boom. Yeah, no, Taco Bell is great. You know what the new
trend is, and I tried it the other day, and it's really good, is if you get a Crunchwrap Supreme, but you make the hard shell on the inside, the Doritos Locos Taco.
Or is that the cheesy gordita crunch you do that with?
No, I did this with the Crunch Wrap.
Really?
Yeah, because the Crunch Wrap's got the soft tortilla on the outside, the cheese in between that, and the hard shell. It's basically a hard shell in between a soft shell. But that hard shell is now you can make that a Doritos Locos taco.
Because I do that with the Crunch Wrap or the cheesy gordita crunch. You put the Doritos Locos in there. I have not done that with the Crunch Wrap.
You got to try it with the Crunch Wrap. It's extra cheesy. It's extra delicious.
I'm in. Don't tell me twice.
I shouldn't be talking about that right now. I'm going to run to the bathroom.
I have to say, on the physical front, never been happier in my life to be a little bit sick because you go in there and he's doing the whole deal. And first of all, obviously the questions about the alcohol, which I'm happy to be like, you a smoker at all? Nope, don't smoke anything. Great. You have any like family history of like this or cancer? Nope, nothing good. And then it's like alcohol. I'm like, yup. And then they hit you with like like how often you drink alcohol? It's like the standard social amount. And they're like, okay, like how often did you say you have like 6 or more drinks in like a sitting? And I'm like, and then they lead you with like, would you say like monthly? So I'm like, no, it's like weekly. I'm like, okay, so just like weekly. I'm like, I go, yeah, like
what do you want me? What do you want to do here?
Just playing this game of like, I don't know. This is the one time I want to tell you the truth.
That's what you always say, and you're right about that. If you're like the doctor, he's seen it all, and he's the guy. If there's no reason to lie to him, just tell him what you're doing because he's the guy who's going to be actually looking at what's healthy and if you're going to die soon.
Totally. So I'm trying to be honest, but then the nurse, it was different because the doctor and the nurse both kind of ask you a little bit. The nurse comes in first, and I could tell the nurse was definitely not. We weren't in sync on like our social lives and what we like to do. So she was kind of leading me with like, oh yeah, once like a month, like that seems like a lot. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And the doctor was much more of a bro. Like we sit and he's kind of like, what do you do for work? I'm like, I do podcasts and stuff for a company, Barstool Sports. Like, I saw I like that new bar down in Scottsdale. I'm like, yeah. So he was like my guy. So he's like, how often you drink? I'm like, all the time, like whatever. Constantly. That guy's fun. But the nurse, she was just not into it. She thought 6 or more drinks in one setting a month was like, I need to go into a new room and get screening. I was like, nah, it's, whatever. So you go through that part, but then he's doing the whole physical. Everything is going great. And he's rubbing his hands around my neck. He's like, yeah, let's see. Then he stops right here. He goes, ooh, what was that? I'm like, ooh, what was that? It's not good. I got a swollen lymph node right here. And he's like, you've been sick at all lately? And I'm like, yes. Last night I started noticing like a sore throat. I'm fighting off an infection. He's like, ooh, okay, good. That's most likely it. But if not, then in a couple weeks, if that stays swollen there, I need you to come in and get an ultrasound. So you're either totally fine and I'm fighting off like a sore throat, or the first thing you Google is it's just like cancer and it's over.
Yep.
So that's the first thing you Google. Luckily, I think I'm okay. I think I'm just fighting off a sore throat and it should go away in a few days. But like he said, like, oh yeah, if it doesn't, just come back in a couple weeks. You're going to need to get ultra. So, and he says it casually and then just walks out of the room. So then you're left with your phone and you just pull up. You're like swollen lip.
Here we go.
Okay. And you turn into George Costanza and think you're going to die all of a sudden. But huge moment that I started being sick last night. Otherwise, we'd be in panic city. Overall, I think we're in pretty good shape going forward, and it might not be another 4 years or so until I see the doctor. So I think we're in good shape.
What type of scale was it? Was it a new one or was it a chonk one with the weights?
It was a new one. It was like a.
Okay,
it was
that's
like
good though. For you, I guess
I know
they don't have the one where you touch it over just a little. Well,
I talked about that when I last went to the doctor a few months ago. Where I mean, I'm huge, but I look okay, but I'm big and I'm bigger than people expect, and the nurses don't expect it. So they peg me for like 215, and I'm like, no, move that big one. We got to move that big one over because it's going to take before it gets to even out. So, but Riggs is skinnier than I am, so it's probably not that big of a deal.
I will say on the weighing thing, I really regret. They again, nurse was a little bit awkward. So she I didn't really know where to go. She's like, oh, step on the scale real quick. I'm like, what? And I just I should have taken my keys and my wallet out. I think that dogged me a little bit. Like,
no, leave them in, dude. Then you got an excuse.
I guess so, but I don't know.
Wear a weighted body.
I just wanted those numbers to be lower. I guess I wanted the number to be lower. I came in a little heavier than I expected to be. I was like 208, which I think I should be closer to like 200 or something. So that was a little surprising to me. I think the keys fucked me, but anyways. A lot of sports team talk on this show. You guys probably haven't gotten to that part yet, but boy, we spend quite a bit going into it. And the beauty of that is that you can go to events now. I know we weren't able to for a little bit. That was a bummer. Now that they're back, there's more energy for it forever, for concerts, comedy, games. We got hockey playoffs coming up. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. Game Time, couple clicks, couple seconds, bang, you're going to get the lowest deal you can for great seats. Game Time.
Yeah, I have a couple people in my life that went to Bruce Springsteen, and I saw that they used Game Time to go there. He played at UBS Arena, which is an amazing show. So, I mean, there really is no event that you can't use Game Time, whether it's a Broadway show, a concert, a baseball game, hockey game, playoffs, preseason. It doesn't matter. Game Time has you covered. It's the best, and it's now, we use it all the time, and then our family and friends are now using it. It is the most trusted last-minute ticket app that you can possibly use. It's the cheapest price and it's the easiest system to use.
It's very possible to snag any seats, the best seats, cheaper seats, whatever kind of seats you want with the Game Time app. The biggest last minute price drops can be found on the seats you thought you could never buy. Skip the hassle and enjoy the moment with Game Time. Download the Game Time app or go to the website, enter your email, and redeem code 4 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That is code 4, F-O-R-E. Go to Game Time, download that app, use the code 4. Terms apply.
Your health seems good, but how was your mentals after Sir Nick Faldo bodied you on Twitter yesterday saying that you have no idea what it takes to win and that your take about Brooks Koepka was hashtag ridiculous?
I didn't see that. Sir Nick said that?
I didn't even see that either.
Sir Nick Faldo of 6 majors?
Quote unquote, he had no stress whatsoever. So shows you have no idea what it takes to win whatsoever. Hashtag ridiculous comment.
Well, Dan, just to catch Dan up quickly, Riggs and Sir Nick Faldo have a very strange internet rivalry.
This one felt less Bigsby and like trying to troll. This one was mean.
Yeah, he would comment on a lot of the early daily nines, and like it's a very interesting relationship.
Well, probably with Trevor, it doesn't help now.
To that's a little bit of like people getting all hot and bothered when Dave like tweets like get pucks on net during hockey and stuff. It's like, yeah, my take was like Brooks Koepka ruined the Masters. Well, clearly, if you listen to the context of the show, which I don't expect people to do, like we were anti-Brooks Koepka. We were very much like Brooks Koepka fucked over Barstool Sports. So then I lead the show with like Brooks Koepka ruined the Masters, blah, blah, blah. Clearly, there's a facetious nature to that of like Brooks Koepka had a hell of a performance. It would have been nice if the last 5 or 6 holes, it wasn't the same way it's been the last 4 years where it was basically just a coronation. I get that he had to play well. I'm not saying there was zero stress whatsoever. Clearly, if you take that all literally, then you're going to bitch. But guess what? That's actually right in the line that I wanted to live at. I saw people getting all hot and bothered or rattled about that clip. That's totally fine by me. I have no issues with that. And if Sir Nick's going to comment on stuff, that's only going to help us out. So I really don't care on that front. But I as a someone who said this 3 weeks before the Masters, I would prefer if Jon Rahm had to make a Phil-like putt in 2004 to win the Masters yesterday or Sunday. That would have been fucking great. Instead, we had DJ and then Hideki and then Scotty and then Jon Rahm, who for the last 6 holes in the Masters, which is usually the fucking best. You get fireworks, you get balls in the water, you get meltdowns, you get all kinds of shit. We really didn't get any of that drama, which I thought sucked.
We haven't had any doubt as to who's going to win the Masters, even on 17 since Tiger. Because I remember when the year Hideki won, Xander was kind of making a charge, and then I think he hit it in the water on 16. He made a double on 16, and it was over. And Hideki was behind him. So it's been the last 45 minutes of the Masters broadcast the last 4 years has just been, okay, we know who's going to win. Let's just have, Jim Nantz tell us sappy stories about this guy.
Did we know who was going to win because Jon Rahm just didn't hit it in the water on 16 though? Like, did he just execute correctly?
Yes, totally.
Okay.
Absolutely. But I mean, Brooks Koepka shot 75. He, if he shoots 70, then like it's a fucking golf tournament. So clearly my thing was like he ruined the Masters by just not shooting 70. So
I agree.
If you're going to take that super literally, fine. But overall, I would just have liked to see a little bit more of a fight down the stretch instead of one guy relative to how he was playing the rest of the week, roll over, and the other guy, Jon Rahm, played great, super impressive, doesn't diminish his win at all. It's just from a pure entertainment factor. Give me some fucking juice down the stretch. And we really didn't get any. For a Masters, that was fucking awesome, start to finish. Or I guess start until, once Rahm kind of hit the ball on the green on the 12th hole, it really felt like, okay, he's going to just win now, right? And that thought never really changed. And even the Hideki year, if you remember, he pretty much had everything in control. And then I think Xander made like an eagle or something, or went birdie, birdie,
I
birdie.
think he eagled
on
15 and then he doubled
get,
16 or something.
Well, yeah, I know that. But to get within a couple, that was like the first time that somebody got within 1 or 2. So it was never even really that close. And then I think Hideki's ball on 15, didn't he hit the down slope, but he kind of went into the water maybe across the way. So there was like a brief moment where it was like, oh, it might get a little bit close. And then 14 seconds later, Xander hits one in the water on 16. I think he actually made triple and took himself completely out of the tournament. So I'm just saying it's been since Tiger on the second 9 at Augusta, where it was like it took a shot on 16 before we really knew like who was going to win, it felt like. So that's been 4 fucking years. I would just like a little bit more back and forth. The stage was set for a live versus tour. We're going to have a couple iconic putts. And really all that kind of happened on the front 9 slowly, where like Brooks just kind of leaked a little bit. He lipped out on 2. He made a couple bogeys. Rahm made a couple birdies. The next thing you know, it took like an hour and a half, but Rahm has like a 2 or 3 shot lead. And there was a little bit of excitement with Phil posting the 65. But with, I don't know, 2 hours left in the broadcast, I think everyone was like, oh, it looks like Jon Rahm's going to win. And then Jon Rahm just won. So I would have liked it to be a little bit more exciting. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, Brooks, if you just zoom out a little bit, he shot 132 over the first 2 rounds and 148 over the weekend. It's a 16-shot difference from his first 2 rounds.
God, yeah, he did. Yeah, he just didn't play as nearly as well. It would have been nice for sure. So in your face, Nick Faldo. There you go.
Yeah, whatever, Sir Nick. What's he on a Montana ranch? You see his fucking pictures that he tweets out from this ranch?
No, I don't know if I follow. Do I follow him?
He was back at the Masters this week doing some stuff for Sky Sports. That's probably why he was more locked in on it.
That's right. He's waltzing around. He's an interesting cat, Nick Faldo, right? Isn't he a fucking interesting cat there?
Well, I mean, we interviewed him. He's I
called me a delicate little flower.
I guess the word is aloof. Would be the word. He just like when we interviewed him, and we interviewed him at Pirelli's, which was pretty cool. And he would tell stories, really cool. And the stories were incredible because the guy obviously had an incredible career. But you'd be 10 minutes into a story, and everyone, including Nick Faldo, would forget what the original question was. And we're just like, damn, these stories are great, but I don't know what we were talking about. I felt stoned the whole time.
Yep.
And I wasn't.
Yeah, so then for me, the thought of him getting like a little bothered about being like, this guy has no idea what it takes to win the Masters, seeing something on Twitter. It's like, well, no shit, I don't have any idea what it takes to win the Masters. Like, I'm trying to break fucking 85.
It's hard to argue with a guy like Nick Faldo, who's had just an incredible amount of success.
Well, that's always the kill shot. That's always been the kill shot when Whitney and Biz go after me on Twitter, where they'll say something and like you can't say anything back to them. They have the upper hand. They played in the NHL. What are you supposed to argue with them about? Like, you don't know what you're talking about. The guy Whitney was on like an Olympic team. It's like crazy. I mean, come on, this is insane. You can't fuck around with that. So what comes with being a professional athlete is the ability to make a ton of money, be famous, and then you also get to dominate every single argument in that sport with just regular people.
Yeah, it's like I work my whole career to be like a golf like commentator or whatever, but one of these big networks they're just going to hire like a former PGA Tour player at the end of the day. Like we both know where that's going. So if the Nick Faldo thing didn't really piss you off, Riggs, I feel like something else that came across all of our collective desks might have caught your eye, and it's my former employer taking a page out of your playbook.
Yeah, not only former employer, it's like one of our former like friends.
Yeah, this part I'll recuse myself from.
Well, the Golf Digest Open, I believe is what they're calling it, that they launched, that I will say got like, I don't know, -4 likes, it looked like on Twitter or something.
14 likes on a major announcement tweet.
Now, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the content world, copycat, to a degree. You let most of it go, it's fine. What Golf Digest did here is they literally copied our format, copied our exact blueprint for the Barstool Classic, which is 5 years running, sold out in about 2.5 minutes this year, which I think is literally less time than it takes to fill out the fucking site that you have to do to sign up. 25 stops around the whole country, $1,000 per team to sign up in 2 seconds. They copied the entire game plan, but not only did they do that, they took our fucking guy, Ian Solomon, who was full-time Barstool Classic employee, basically. Like, yeah, he did a bunch of stuff with branding and marketing. Awesome guy, great friend of ours, went to all these different stops throughout years of the Barstool Classic, played golf together, hung out. He took a new gig over at Golf Digest. Good for him. Got married lately, living the dream. But then I see him tweeting about like, oh, look at what at that point, what the fuck are we here? You're just you literally took someone from the inside, brought them over to Golf Digest, and then are just trying to create the same thing that we're doing. Now, there's a little bit of like, you don't want to punch down on this, like our rabid following. You can't, first of all, you can't call something the Golf Digest Open when you have no brand. Like, you can't name it after your brand when you have no brand. There's no one out there rocking a Golf Digest shirt. They're not slinging fucking Golf Digest hoodies. Like, so you got to call it something else. I'll give them this is a little bit of advice. You got to call it something else. You got to come up with some cool kind of name. Even when the No Laying Up crew or when the Fried Egg crew or the Good or when they do something, they have a brand. They have like a legitimate brand that they can name an event after themselves because they have a fucking brand. Nobody gives a flying fuck about Golf Digest. They're going to read some of your stuff and your journalistic stuff, but nobody's got some allegiance to Golf Digest except the fucking doctor's office where the thing's on the coffee table in the morning or something. So you can't name it the Golf Digest Open. It's preposterous, clearly, that people just copy the exact same thing down to the format and all of that. But what really just grinds my gears was that it's our boy Ian that's just a little snakish going in there and just announcing the same thing and tweeting about them doing the exact same thing when he was basically the right-hand man or one of the right-hand men in the Barstool Classic for a couple of years. A bunch of people that played in the Classic have met Ian. He's an incredibly nice guy, but he just goes to Digest, and then a few months later, a year later, they just launch the identical thing. And I actually think the first year that we announced the Barstool Classic, like year one, I think we announced it like the day or two after the Masters. I think we literally did the exact same fucking thing that they're doing. So that fucking pisses me off when someone goes somewhere else after, we work closely, have a great time. They're in the inner workings. They're in all the meetings and then they just take it to somebody else. That fucking pisses me off.
Yeah. It's in Barstool culture, it's like Bubbly Gang 2.0. You like watch the way it all happened, and then you went to another company and literally built it. But there's always going to be people that pop up in competition. There is. But to your point, Riggs, like we like when the other stuff happens because like they did the same thing that we did. They built up a brand. They figured out how to do it on their own. They have their own franchise. They have their own logos that people sport on their chests and on their heads. And they listen to every episode and they watch every episode. Like the Bob Does Sports guys, they grinded from the bottom up. Literally from nothing. So, I mean, that stuff is way more admirable than just someone from our own team, where the Barstool Classic was the first of its kind. It was legitimately the first of its kind. There was always these like huge sanctioned events that you'd have to join. This is the first 24 city amateur tour that would sell out in 4 minutes. And Ian just went and is trying to do it with Golf Digest. It's crazy to me, and we love it. I wish he would come back. I want him back on the team. We talked about that all the time. Like, let's bring him back.
Yeah, it's like an imitation is the most sincere form of flattery type deal as well. And, I would say the demographics of who would sign up for a Barstool Classic and the demographics of who would sign up for a Golf Digest Open, maybe not a ton of overlap. So I don't know if we're going to lose too many people to that tournament.
No, and you could play in both. And I've floated to you guys the thought of banning everyone that for life of anyone that plays in the Golf Digest Open. I was going to just go through their whole manifest of every person and just ban them for life from the Barstool Classic. That would be a little bit bad for golf. The more I thought about, just like in theory, if we're trying to grow golf, you should be able to play it both and have yourself a good time. But with everything going on in the golf culture, I was going to tweet out a statement that was word for word what Jay Monahan said last year. And just sub out Barstool Classic and Golf Digest Open. Then I got the lymph node thing, and I started to worry about other stuff. So I don't think we're going to do that. But anyways, it'd be remiss if I didn't talk about that, how preposterous that is. And the other thing is, like, I think that somebody in their shoes who they just know that they're copying something that was successful. So I don't blame them for that. If you're uncreative and you're trying to continue to not get fired from your job, you just steal what somebody else is doing that's successful, fine. But what drives me nuts with that is that I know that their biggest concern is probably like, wow, we might get roasted. Bless you.
Whoa,
we might get roasted for just copying these guys. And so if their biggest concern is that, then like we should probably roast them for copying us. Is sort of part of the mindset that I come from.
I would say the thing that would be concerning if I were in their shoes would be that tweet came out at 8 p.m. last night, and I didn't see it until someone threw it in our chat this morning, and then we went to it.
Someone else did.
It had 15 likes, and it's like when the Barstool. If you go back in history, if you look when the Barstool Classic was announced, that tweet was massive. I didn't even go back and look, but it's a huge
Over
watershed moment.
views.
It's like, holy shit, this blog, the thing that used to be a blog, is now putting on a golf tournament with 20 cities, and like for Golf Digest, the tweet was a fart in the wind, and that would be a concern if I were on their end.
I've got breaking news that Ian may not have been involved in it at all. So
I just saw his tweet.
We did just see his tweet. No, I've asked around because this guy was an integral part to the Barstool Classic. So I messaged some of his old coworkers, people that we now are continuously working with the Barstool Classic, and I said, "Is Ian Solomon Bubbly Gang 2.0?" And I was told that he did not know anything about this and had nothing to do with it. So we'll see. I don't find that hard to believe, but we'll see.
We're going to file that under hard to believe.
Give me the receipts. I'll file that under fucking impossible to believe. I mean, he tweeted out, the inaugural Golf Digest Open, all capitals on that, by the way, is here with a national championship, all capitals, at the brand new Fields Ranch at PGA Frisco. He quote tweeted the Golf Digest tweet. He borderline has more action on his quote tweet of the Golf Digest tweet than the Golf Digest tweet originally has.
So we find ourselves in an interesting position here. And Dan, you can say nothing if you want. You can plead the fifth, but they have one of our guys over there talking in their rooms with stuff. We've got one of their guys now in our room. Like, what do you think is going on over there? Like, what?
Oh shit, that's right.
You know what I mean?
Do a trade.
What's the
Can you steal something from them?
Yeah, what do you got on them? You don't have, you can say whatever you want here, but
this puts me in a really tricky position. Obviously,
no, we took we took the blogs basically. We took their best written content and we put them on BarstoolSports.com. We could argue that is this a fair trade? They get to do their open. We get the best blogs written in golf on our website.
Highway robbery. By
I think that's highway robbery. I think we let them just. Yeah, who cares? It's not going to do well, and it is. And even if it does, good on them. They get to do it. I mean, we don't want to see anyone fail. It's just funny the way it happened.
If nobody signed up, I have to shit again. I wouldn't hate that. You can go shit. It's fine.
Oh God, I don't want to.
I think. Look, I think the Barstool Classic has been. It's a city upon a hill. It's an unbelievable undertaking that you guys have been able to put together. And I think, a company like Golf Digest is looking for new revenue streams, and you got to try things. And I think probably, I don't know this for a fact, and maybe me leaving was sort of like a kick in the ass. I don't know. It's possible. But yeah, I have a lot of good friends over there, but it is, I will say the 50 man, I think it's the same price. There are a lot of similarities.
Well, and if anybody thinks I'm overreacting, let me be clear. This is my baby. This is what pays the fucking bills. I've flown to over 80 stops around this fucking country in North America for the last 5 years. This is meeting after meeting, working with partners, going and meeting partners for drinks, for lunch, trying to get them to come on with the Barstool Classic, going and shaking hands day after day after day with all the stoolies out there. You're out in the sun and putting on sunscreen, the whole fucking deal. And like for 4 or 5 years building this thing and then getting all the fellas involved. And now all you guys are involved in the Classic. And like, this is something that we take incredibly seriously. And again, this is what pays our fucking salaries. This is what pays for everything that we do. This is what pays our families, our golf trips, our utility bills, whatever is like a big part of that's the Barstool Classic. So when somebody, tries to kind of steal part of it, that fucking drives me crazy. So I don't want to overreact to the whole thing, but it's like, Jesus fucking Christ here. We got to defend ourselves a little bit, I feel like.
No, I think you are well within your rights to be saying the things that you are saying, for sure. And, who knows how it's actually going to turn out for them? I don't know, like I said, I mean this about the demographic thing. Like, I think Dan could speak to that as well, but like, I feel like the demographic for them is shit. That's why we grabbed Dan. We're like, we want him for us because he speaks to a younger demographic. Their demographic is older than ours. And there's definitely older people that go to the Classic, and I've met a bunch of them and they're great. We'll take any fans that we can get, but I do think the Golf Digest audience skews older than ours does.
There are different niches of golf audiences, right? Like the Fried Egg has their audience and they have events and those guys are more architecture wonks. They're more hardcore fans. So there's definitely room, but again, it's just a similarity, because these other companies have events. No Laying Up has events. Fried Egg has events. It's a one-off events that cater to your audience. Like, of course, that's a part of any brand. It's just when it's the exact same. And I heard about this last week, Riggs, and I think I was like, this is the exact same thing. It's not just like, oh, we're gonna have a tournament and we're gonna have, name it whatever we're gonna name it, and people are gonna sign up. It's like, We're gonna do the
Look,
exact same thing.
My grudges, they stop at professionalism. So Ian Solomon and we could go get drinks, have a great time. Professionally, unless he could prove to me he didn't know about this thing or have any input on this thing, I will professionally be officially holding a grudge against Ian Solomon.
Fair. Totally
Good
fair.
personal friend, would play golf with him. Professionally, we're in the middle of a grudge right now.
All fair.
Big time. Can't take
how's
it from the inside and bring it somewhere else.
Frankie, how are you?
No.
You doing all right?
How's your visit to
See
the
how
restroom
fast that
thing?
was? It's just there's nothing of substance. It's just a fucking hose. It's a hose. Not to get too crazy. I know people listen to this. They might be eating lunch. I'm in a bad spot right now. I don't know if I'm gonna make a botchy.
It was funny watching you walk. Your outfit speaks volumes. You're just a guy.
It's my period
in
outfit.
Sweat.
It's
I was gonna say that. I didn't end up saying it, but you did, and that's what you look like, a guy who's just been hugging a pillow for 24 hours.
I'm just get me my. That's no disrespect to women or whatever.
You just need
that's
the
a real
giant
struggle.
sunglasses.
It's a real
dude.
struggle.
You need the
It's-
giant sunglasses.
I'm eating fucking ice cream and I'm holding on to my tummy and I'm just, dude, I'm in a bad spot. I'm watching daytime soap operas. I'm just fucking, and this is all real. I'm wearing a triple XL sweater. And
I knew that thing looked huge. That thing looks huge on you,
dude. I'm wearing a triple XL sweater and
Can
I'm
you
wearing
just back
double
up from
XL.
the camera and show
I'm
off
wearing,
your outfit?
I'm wearing double XL pants. I'm just fucking, you know.
There's something about the white shirt under the crew neck is making me laugh.
I'm in my sick clothes. I'm in my sleepy clothes, man. I'm just kind of lounging around the house and I'm just
Soft
shitting
clothes?
all over the place. It's bad, dude. It's really bad.
G4, baby. There's nobody that does it even close to as good as G4. They kind of revolutionized the shoe game. Golf shoe game, I feel like, was stagnant for, I don't know, 100 years. It felt like all the shoes were the same. They were stiff. They were uncomfortable. You really didn't have that many choices. G4, they made a splash. They got all the different styles. And then they've got now, so obviously we talk about the Galavanters. We talked about the MG4. The MG4 X2, which is their cross trainer. This is their new golf shoe. They've got the Ripstop, which the style on this thing is off the charts. It's great, which I love. The Ripstop MG4X2 golf cross trainer is without a doubt one of, if not the most versatile golf shoe out there. You guys, you two especially, are obsessed, I feel like, with the MG4X2s.
Yeah, it's basically wearing the most comfortable sneaker of all time. It's got grip on the bottom.
Yep.
If you're not playing a really wet or like, undulating course, you would never feel the difference between that and like a spiked shoe. It makes you feel really good. I know that I'll never change from a G4 shoe regardless of what happens with our partnership and our friendship with the people at G4 because they've just won me over. The bubble insert on the inside of those shoes will never be replicated. I don't care what shoe you show me. I'm never going to wear another one. They are so damn comfortable. Long gone are the days where you would put on a golf shoe and you would feel that tightness around this bottom sole or the heel of your shoe or your foot. Walking a golf course is supposed to be comfortable. It's supposed to be an enjoyment. It's supposed to be a workout. It's supposed to be you're playing a sport. Your feet are a massive part of that. Go to a store, go to PJ Superstore, go wherever, and try them on. You're going to laugh out loud.
Yeah, I agree. You can check out G4 at g4.com/4. That's GFORE.com/4 for 10% off your first order. Girls, guys, no matter who you are, what your experience level is with the game of golf, these are just the best. There's the Ripstop MG4 X2 shoe for all of you. Get a pair, put them to the test. Your feet are going to thank you. These things are sexy looking. Just look at how sexy that thing is. And like we said, that little bubble up there, that little the bubble bottom, soft, comfortable, most comfortable shoe in the world. That's G4.com/4 for 10% off your first order. Willie Z out for the season with a back surgery. Sucks. We talked a lot on the last show about how you miss guys, from having the live guys out there in the master. You just miss guys. You miss them being in the mix. You miss them in the pressers. You miss watching them play golf. Willie Z is one of those guys. Gonna miss him for the whole year. Incredibly nice guy. Almost got killed saying hi to Lurch and the crew at the old course at St. Andrews, just running right across the fairway. Sneaky big fan of Barstool and of everything, really, because me and Frankie saw him last year at the Masters. He was in the middle of the fairway and he yelled at us. We were just normal patrons out there walking outside the ropes. So
Dude,
we
at
love
the
Willie
President's
Z.
Cup. At the President's Cup, when he was just there, like, because he had withdrawn from that, right? He was injured,
Yep.
and then Kisner got in. Kisner's like, the only reason I'm on this team is because this guy's back sucks, which is insane. He was like, "Oh, just like I'm halfway done with your guys' mini golf tournament. Like, who ends up winning? Actually,
Oh,
don't
yeah.
tell me. Like, I'm gonna watch it later. Like after the President's Cup." I was like, "All right."
I thought he hated me because of the U.S. Open situation, because it was obviously him against Fitz, and he misses the putt, and I'm like celebrating like crazy. And then I saw him at in Hawaii this year, and he walks up to me and he goes, "Dude, I'm super happy that you're doing what you're doing now under like for Barstool. Like that's awesome." So he's a super nice guy, and I feel bad for him because he just missed the 2021 Ryder Cup team at Whistling Straits. He had to obviously pull out of the President's Cup last year. Like you said, with the back injury, he's going to miss the Ryder Cup again this year. So he's going to have to wait until at least 2024 to make his first Team USA appearance. The guy's finished in the top T8 or better in 6 of the 10 majors that he's played in. So like he's a big time player, and he's not really getting an opportunity to show it on that team stage. And it's shitty. Like, you know, it's anytime a guy is 20, I think he's 26. Anytime you're having back surgery at 26, that's not ideal.
What kind of surgery is this? Is this Tiger Woods?
It's
microvasectomy thing?
It's the one that Tiger had. Remember when he did that interview with Jim Nantz? It was right before the accident when he was not looking good.
Yeah.
That was when he was recovering from microdissectomy surgery.
Damn,
wow.
he's
It's
young,
not the
man.
fusion though. The fusion,
It's not
fusion
the
is
fusion. It's not the fusion, but it's, you know, I mean, it's back surgery.
back surgery. No bueno.
Have you guys watched the Tiger Woods video? I think is it on HBO or it's that new
You're talking
show?
about the Sentinel spine one, the like when the
No, him
doctor
with with
who was he
Dwayne
with?
Wade and
dude, that was the one. That was where he was driving when he got injured. I was there that day when he had the
but
accident.
it's like on. I think it's on HBO. I can't remember which.
I think it's on
streaming service
YouTube. I think it might be on
It's
YouTube.
It's like David Spade and it's Dwayne Wade. Like that was the day before. I believe.
and
All
Jada
I know
Pinkett
is that
Smith,
one of these-
and he's not
one
in
of-
good. He's not in good
one
shape.
of these streaming networks has like golfing with Tiger or something, around with Tiger. And I saw it the other day. I never watched it on YouTube. I can't bring myself to watch it, knowing that that's the mental state he was in and what he was about to do. Like I legit cannot watch it. It's way too awkward for me. It makes me feel uncomfortable. He's like messing around with Dwayne Wade about like ball position height on a drive. I saw a clip and I'm just like, I can't, because like he's just out of it in those clips. I can't. It's like watching like leading up to a disaster. I just don't want to see it.
I was surprised they released it. Honestly,
Yeah.
given like how infamous that shoot is, but I guess you paid all that money.
I also think people like the general public, they might know. Like they might not connect the dots. Like, oh, this is where he was and this was right before. But
True.
It's very clearly right before.
Tell you what, if we filmed Tiger Woods content around those 2 days, we would be putting it out.
We're putting it out.
Yeah.
You know, that shit's going out. Tiger Woods puts asses in the seats. He puts clicks on fucking videos. Willie Z. Oh, I was just say it's good for my mentions when Willie Z is not playing, because every time he does one of those squiggly backstroke short putt things, my mentions it's just a dumpster fire for about a day straight. So it's good for my mentions that he's not
But
playing.
also just 2 pretty good putters. Like
yeah,
that's
his
what
putting
people
stats
don't-
are much better.
doesn't matter what it looks like, really.
It is funny, like all those squiggly ones that everybody like tweets out, like they like go in every time.
They do. He's a good putter.
Gonna miss Willie Z out there. I love that little wiry fuck just smoking the golf ball. His swing is fantastic. So speedy recovery, rooting for him. And I'm not, to go back to the Golf Digest thing, I'm not showing them. I actually got that little topic from before we do the show. I usually go to Golf Digest website and I just scroll through the top like
It's a good
5 news
website.
stories, make sure I don't miss anything. So they're good at what they do. That's great. I just don't know that I have some big brand that's going to deliver some worldwide golf amateur tour. Anyways, From the Gallery. We haven't done From the Gallery in a while. I scooped up a handful, boys. Email foreplay@barstoolsports.com. From the Gallery subject line. Make it short and sweet. If it's not, I won't read it. We've got Doug. So if you recall, this is from when we were talking about the golf ball like a month or so ago, if it really matters.
What a show.
I'm a club
great-
fitter
it's a
in
great
Denver,
show.
Colorado. The issue with balls isn't buying the best one. It's that you need to buy the same one over and over. It doesn't matter what style it necessarily is. The better you are, the more it matters which one you choose. But the underlying theme in golf and with the golf ball is just to have less variables in your game. This actually, to me, made more sense than anything else on the golf ball front. I know we had Adrian on. He spoke a lot about the golf balls. And Frankie, you had probably the most revealing stats from when we were at the Kingdom of using one ball versus the other and how it's much more optimal for you. This part, though, I can really get behind. It's like, even if we're not using the most expensive golf ball, you use the same one over and over again, then if your ball, when you chip, for example, doesn't necessarily check like Tiger Woods' ball when he chips it up there, well, guess what? After weeks and weeks, you're used to that. So you know it's going to just roll out, and that's just how your golf ball plays. So that, from Doug, I thought actually made a lot of sense on the golf ball front.
Yeah, consistency is key in everything in golf, and I think you have to try and keep it. You're never going to know. You have to have some sort of, what's like the scientific term? Like
test? Like a test case?
Yeah.
Or like what is it? It's called
control group?
Control. You need some sort of control to be able to base these things or base facts off of these things. I don't know. I'm fucking.
You're talking about in the scientific experiment where you control a bunch of variables and then you leave one like changing, and that's how you determine which one's actually affecting things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you call that, but we just described it.
I also think in my head, there's like 50 people on planet Earth who know what they're talking about when it comes to golf balls, and none of them are on this show. Like I just don't think we have any idea. I don't think all due respect to Doug, and thank you for emailing in, and he makes a decent point. I just don't think anybody knows what the fuck they're talking about.
I don't either. Let's go to Matt from London, England, and I have to give a shout out to Matt because he wrote in parentheses, no favorite, truly flavor, don't drink, but he wrote favorite with a U and flavor with a U. So he wrote it in
proper,
little English.
Like from London.
Delightful. No favorite, truly flavor, which I like
That's
that.
Good.
He wrote, he's curious, all the way from London, England. You talk like you're from London. Did Frankie's couch ever arrive? And if so, does it live up to the hype?
Wow. Yeah, it's been here for like a year, which is great. I mean, it took like 8 or 12 months, 8 or 12 weeks, like way longer than we thought it would. We were sitting on folding chairs for 2 to 3 months. It was crazy.
Well, then I remember going over to your house and you would get pieces of it. I would go into I would see your living room and there would be only parts of a couch in there.
Yep. And it came. It's very nice. It's a great couch. I found like my spot in it that I can sleep in the second I sit down in it, which is great. I think that's everyone's number one goal when you find a couch is like how well can you just like crash on it. And there's a spot like if I sit basically sideways on it on the chase and then like extend my legs on where the recliner is, I basically have like a bed and I just nestle in that corner with a pillow and it's over. I'm talking the other day during an Islander game, I started to like doze off and I finally slapped myself and I was like, you got to get out of here. You got to get up. We're not going to talk about the Islanders because that was just I can't.
Probably better for your mindset to doze off during that game. Enough.
Seasons might be over when this podcast comes out. So yeah,
they're in like a must win. Now they got to win every game.
They're not so much. They're in such a must win that they need another team to lose now. So that's just and Pittsburgh's playing the two worst teams in the league, literally number 1 and 2, playing the Blackhawks and the Blue Jackets. So they're going to win both. And then we need the Carolina Hurricanes to somehow beat in any fashion, whether it's shootout, regulation, or overtime, the Florida Panthers in the last game of the season. And that will happen after the Islanders play Wednesday. So there will be a scenario in which the Islanders will hopefully win Wednesday against Montreal. And then we have to all watch Thursday night against the Panthers and Hurricanes game. Wow. That's just not having the fate in your own hands. And last night, I was so hyped up for that game against the fucking Washington Capitals. And I told you guys it was a trap game. I told you guys no Ovi, no Oshie, all these guys. It's going to be a trap game. With 18 minutes and 54 seconds remaining in the first period, the Islanders are down 2-0. They gave up 2 goals in the first minute and like 8 seconds. I literally was like, I almost missed both goals. I was like in the bathroom. I was like washing my hands. I'm like, is that a fucking goal horn? And then I walked in. I'm like, what's happening?
Sorry to hear that, Frank.
Whatever.
I'm sorry, Frank. You might get some help. You never know. I remember one year, 15, 17 years ago, maybe, that the St. Louis Rams, back when they were the St. Louis Rams, needed a miracle in another game, like a bad team to beat a good team, for the Rams to sneak into the playoffs. And the kicker, I can't remember which fucking team it was, but kicker makes a game-winning field goal. And we all like wrote letters to him, thanking him for making the kick and how excited we were.
Amazing.
So you might need something like that on Thursday night, Frankie. You might need a little little love.
Our
Does that
only hope
mean
is
one
that
of those two teams to
Carolina-
lose or both?
One of them has to lose. We need Carolina to try and play for the number one team in the division spot, so they actually have something to play for. And that's all thanks to Toronto Maple Leafs last night.
All right, it's spring golf season, which means inconsistent temperatures. Sometimes, especially up there where you guys live, it might be 72, it might be 32. You really don't know in the morning. It might be cloudy and really chilly and windy. Kind of reminds me of what we saw on Sunday in Augusta, which is like in the morning, those guys are freezing. Bottom line is you need layers. You need to be able to have layers out there, and you need layers on the golf course. Yeah, you're going to want to look good. That's half the battle. That's why we get so excited in the morning. That's why when we do a golf trip, we're packing our outfits days in advance, weeks in advance. You're prepping because you get so excited about looking good. Golf style's fun. You want to be stylish. You want to be classy, but you want stuff that's not going to restrict you, right? If it's chilly in the morning or at any point out there, you don't want to be swinging and feeling like you're being held back or hampered because of the fit of your clothing. Peter Millar. They do it better than anybody else. Their best-selling Perth quarter zip pullover features performance benefits, and here's what they got. They got four-way stretch. They got moisture wicking fabric. They got easy care and a classic design, perfect for on and off the golf course. They say that Perth pullover is in the rafters at Peter Millar. It's just the best technology anybody's ever come up with. And then they utilize that for vests, for hoodies, for jackets, for pullovers, for pants, for everything that they've got. Nobody does it better than Peter Millar.
Most comfortable clothes and the best looking clothes that you can possibly have. It's crazy that combination exists where someone looks at you and they're like, wow, that's top tier. And it's also the most comfortable thing you own.
I got a Peter Millar t-shirt on right now. I didn't even know we were going to have to talk about Peter Millar today. I didn't know they came in specifically on this show, but here I am with the Peter Millar t-shirt on, and I got to say it's quite comfy. So do yourself a favor. Head over to petermillar.com/foreplay. Shop the entire Peter Millar line. They kind of curate that site to see a bunch of our favorites mixed in there with a bunch of their new styles and fabrics and everything else. So petermillar.com/foreplay.
Crazy how wrong St. Louis Rams already sounds. Like it sounds like one of those teams that you would hear from the 20s. Yeah, and I mean, the St. Louis Rams were a huge part of my life because of Kurt Warner, and he's an Iowa guy, and that was a big deal. But when you said St. Louis Rams there, I thought, boy, that sounds like an old team.
It's fucking crazy, dude. Yeah, that was like right when I got hired at Barstool in 2016 was the year when the Rams moved. And I remember we did the Larry the Goldfish picked my new favorite team, and he picked the New Orleans Saints. So in theory, I'm a Saints fan.
And that was all Stan Kroenke's fault?
Yep. That scumbag Stan Kroenke. So the issue was that in order for him to get approval from the league to move the Rams from St. Louis to LA, he had to submit like a 100-page proposal. And in that proposal, he just shit on the
Shat on St. Louis.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I remember the Gold City.
There have been teams before that move and you stay, you kind of keep your allegiance to that team. You like the owner, whatever. They did it for like understandable reasons, whatever. This one was not the case. People already kind of hated Stan Kroenke, and a lot of different people do. He's the Arsenal guy too, I believe, and like Za fucking hates him.
Yeah, and he's Walmart. He married into the Walmart family.
He married into the family. Had George Washington married into some money too, so it's not the worst thing in the world. But anyways, he shit all over St. Louis in his efforts to move it. Like dozens of pages just shitting on the city of St. Louis. So we hate them, and we instantly were out on the Rams at that point. So,
was there ever a point, even at the height, where the Rams were the number one team in St. Louis? I feel like that's such a baseball town, and almost in every other situation where there's an NFL team, it's always the NFL team. Regardless of how bad or how good the other teams are, it's always going to be an NFL town. But I feel like St. Louis is the one where that's a Cardinals town.
Dude, the thing was, the timing-wise was there was a stretch. The answer is yes. The Rams were the thing. And it was because they were still pretty new. It was because of how shocking it was. Because what's-his-face went down injured.
Marshall Faulk?
What was our quarter?
Trent Green.
Warner?
Trent Green. I think it was Trent Green, who was supposed to be like, dude, we have a pretty good team. We got Marshall Faulk. We got these guys. The Rams weren't really that good leading up to that, but this was like a lot of hype. Trent Green was kind of the guy. And then he goes down hurt out for the season. Everyone's like, motherfucker. And then they started like 6-0 with Kurt Warner. It was the Arena League quarterback, greatest show on turf, and won the Super Bowl that year. So the hype was so great. And then also around that time, the St. Louis Blues were really good, and the Cardinals are always good. So St. Louis, I think during that point too, was listed on like, whatever magazine is like, is St. Louis like the top sports city in the country right now? So there was hype for everything. People had those flags in their car that go into like the window, the Rams flags. They were selling those at like every shopping mart. So everybody had Rams flags. It was all about, and they were such an exciting style. It's like when your team is not only winning, but they just score the most points all the time.
That was that Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce,
Torrey
Kurt
Holt.
Warner,
Torrey Holt.
Yep.
They were studs.
Total studs. They scored all the time. And then how dramatic the Super Bowl was. They had the NFC Championship against the Buccaneers too, came down to the wire. I think it was Torrey Holt who caught like an insane pass late in the game to barely get them to the Super Bowl. And then obviously stopping the Titans on the 1 yard line to win the Super Bowl that year. It just all kind of added up, and yeah, it was sick. And then 2 years later, they go back to the Super Bowl as like double-digit favorites, and then Tom Brady became a person and embarrassed the Rams. They came out as a team, which is fucking lame, but they did it and they won and whatever. So
that was kind of the start of that whole thing.
Yeah. No, the Patriots will be introduced as a team. I remember that came out like that. We were like, all right.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, that was like a whole thing because they would,
arm.
They like, they kind of do introductions of like starters and the coach, and like people come out. It's a fucking Super Bowl. This is like 2000. And the Rams did that. I think it did the whole hoopla and the greatest show on turf. And there's fucking lights. They had won the Super Bowl 2 years prior. And then they were like, the New England Patriots have chosen to be introduced as a team. And they just came out as a team, like with
Is
Bill
that where
Belichick
the
and
Spygate
Brady.
came from? Was that the original Spygate?
That was way later. I think that was several years later. This was early, dude. Tom Brady looked like he was like 11 at the time. And he was the same deal where he was like Kurt Warner-esque at the time, where he wasn't even supposed to necessarily be the guy, obviously. And then here they were, kind of this miracle. They had that was the year of the Raiders of the tuck rule, right?
Yeah,
I think that was that. That was that year. So this is when I was still obviously really into football because of the Rams. And then as soon as you lose your team, you don't really get that into it, which stinks. So that's one of my great gripes with life right now is that people ask me all the time, who's your football team? Like, I don't have one because I hate fucking Stan Kroenke.
I don't have one either, dude. And mine isn't because, I grew up in Cedar Rapids and I just never had one, but I was a Cowboys fan as a kid. I was a diehard Cowboys fan. I was a big Emmitt Smith fan, Michael Irvin, Deion Sanders, which is a weird one now because he's technically a coworker. He was a stud, Troy Aikman, all those guys. And then when you don't have a team that was from your hometown, it's harder to stick with it as you get older because it's just not the same. Like I don't have a Cedar Rapids professional football.
You're not surrounded by fans too.
No,
and
a
there's
lot
no community.
Because like even in your own family, you got Packer fans, Bears fans, Chiefs fans, and everybody's just kind of like, it's not a bonding experience the way it is if you grow up with, a Rams team or an Islanders team or wherever you're from. So I get asked that question all the time too. Like, what are your professional teams? And as it goes right now, I've just kind of let a lot of them go because I don't feel that same connection. As a kid, you just want to get into sports. So you're like, oh, I want to be a fan of the Cubs and the Bulls and the Cowboys and whoever. And then as you get older, you're like, I don't really have a connection to those teams for whatever reason. And I think it's just because they're not from my hometown.
Dude, it does stink. And there's really no way to achieve it. Like you can't, I don't think you can like fabricate.
Right. Like, what am I now going to become like a diehard like Jets fan? Like, all right, I love the Jets now. And they're like, why? It's like, I don't know.
Do the Cardinals have a good fan base, Riggs? Like, are they a big deal down there?
Not really. There's just a lot of implants down here. People move here from a lot of places. So like I've been to a few Cardinals games and they're fun. The stadium's sick, but like there were more Eagles fans there when they played the Eagles this year than there were Cards fans, which it's like, it's not that they don't have, there are definitely Phoenix locals and stuff that are kind of into it, but it ain't the same thing because also, as Dave's talked about a lot, when you're from these hardened cities, like your passion for sports is higher because it's kind of all you got for half the year or whatever.
It's got to be cold. Yeah.
People are fucking floundering around. I guess we'll play golf today unless the Cardinals on. Like, I'm going to go to the pool. It's not the same as when you live in fucking Philly, Pittsburgh, Boston, Long Island, whatever, and you're grinding through certain times of the year, and your one thing that you got like to cling to and to be happy about, or one of the few things, is like watching your squad. And here it's just kind of like whatever. There's so many other things to do.
Well, Dan, you're an LA guy. What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, I'm a Denver Bronco fan because my mom grew up in Denver, and when I was growing up, they had no team. I'd left for college before the Rams and the Chargers got there. But now with gambling, I've bet against. I don't really care about the Broncos that much. I bet against them all the time. It's whoever I'm betting on is who I'm rooting for.
Gambling helps, I will say, in terms of something to root for.
It is crazy. We got a podcast of 4 sport watchers, and we don't have many professional sport fans on this podcast. I mean, obviously Riggs has the Blues and the Cardinals, but like at the end of the day, it's like Trent doesn't have like a team. Dan like barely has a team. Like it's fucking weird to me because I'm in that world so deep,
and I want to. I wish I could
that deep.
You're a super fan. You're like a legitimate super fan.
Yes, it's Yankees, it's Islanders, it's Jets. It's like every night I got something going on, and I just like can't even fathom not having that. It's like I can't imagine not having that.
Turn back the clock 10 years, and I was the biggest Chicago Cubs fan in the world. I loved it. Oh yeah, I watched every game. I knew everything about them, and then I really do think there's something to just.
You could have got like if you went to more Islander games with me, if you start to like go, you definitely would start to feel it.
But
it doesn't have to be from your home.
Like
that means nothing though.
It
like,
does though, dude. There's
one
something
of my
about
buddies. My future brother-in-law like wasn't the biggest hockey fan. I took him to like 10 games this year. He knows every single fucking player on the roster, every number. He's like so dialed in watching every single game. He's 30. It's like you get hooked. You just like picking up golf or whatever. You just get hooked. You're like, I care about this.
So you're in an Islander circle. That guy's a huge diehard. He knows everything about the current team. And then someone's like, remember that 2008 team? And he's like, what are you talking about? I think there's something about knowing all of it.
Yeah, I guess so.
I can watch every game, Trent.
I think that it's not an excuse, but like your reasoning for not being able to pick up a team at the age of 35 is soft. I think you're able to do it. I do. People move all the time. They just like they get like season tickets, or they just like subscribe to like the TV channel, and like let's say you move to Denver, you just become a Broncos fan. Like it's just like what they do. I mean, I think that's pretty normal. It's obviously not as like it's not like I have it. Mine's been
your
fucking
face. Your face, but you like
you couldn't even get the words out
because I'm picturing someone being held down with and they're getting fucking like they're getting like branded. You know what I mean? Like I'm
For sure.
Just like my chest has been fucking opened and they stuck fucking blue and orange paint inside there, and it's just fucking. I'm in there. Maybe you don't have that, but I think you could still have it. You can still have a piece, man. Don't have nothing.
I still love all of the sports. I watch a ton of football. I watch a ton of baseball.
Into the Cubs. Get back into the fucking Bulls, dude. Get back into it.
It's just
watch day game baseball. It's fun.
No, I watch all these sports.
Do you think you could become like a huge fan of a college football team at this point in your life?
I think I could. I definitely could. When we kept going, when we kept going to different college football stadiums with Dave, and I went on like that tour of 3 years in a row, college football show. We went to Michigan games. Like we went to 5 Michigan games in a span of 2 years. We went to 2 Michigan State games, Michigan at Michigan State, and then Michigan State at Michigan in the rain. Fucking awesome games. I was decked out in Michigan gear. I got Michigan shoes that the team gave us. I was fucking into it. And for that year, I really did get into it. And if I would have just cared about it a little bit more, and if I like joined my buddy's college football group chat, I would have, but somehow, some way, I just didn't like get included in that. Like I just wasn't. No one in my circle respected me as a college football fan, which was weird because in New York, you have to. If you're like, New York's a different animal. I feel like if you're not like organically that guy, and if you've not been that guy forever, you're exposed. But I think if you're from another state where you're like always going to be a transplant, like Trent's a transplant from Iowa, New York, I think it's more acceptable.
Transplant. That's what I was trying to say earlier. I think I said
I don't know. It's something weird. I just like didn't. I wish I would have gotten in.
There is something
cry
to
for help
college
with my
sports
buddies.
too,
Like,
where
I wish they would include me.
Unless you're from like where I'm from, I'm a huge Hawkeye fan, but you inherently have to pick them later because you pick the college that you go to when you're 18 or 19. So you're kind of taking that on later anyway.
College is weird. Like my buddy's an Alabama fan because like his uncle went there. Like he went to fucking Cortland. Like he didn't have a huge college football team, but now he's diehard Alabama.
See, I like that. I got no issue with that.
I'm Rob Lowe. I'm Rob Lowe with all these professional sports.
Just fucking sport.
I'm wearing the logo. I'm wearing the shield. You know what I mean? Put that MLB hat on me. Put the NFL hat on me.
I'm a fan
sucks. I'm a fan. I'm a bigger fan. I'm a bigger fan of you than hockey because I'm a fan of all the teams. You know what I mean? I like all of the teams.
Well,
you only like one.
What a
That's nice.
sad existence, that
Dude,
is.
I know you're kind of really shitting on me for not doing it.
No,
I just like don't have it.
Just I know. It's
I got a Brock Nelson jersey in my closet. But
I know. He texted me
me
yesterday. There was a clip.
I'm a Brock Nelson fan.
There was a clip of you from like a couple months ago wearing that jersey, and it went out pretty recently. Oh, it was how close do you have to be to the hole to win the Masters? And you were wearing the Brock Nelson jersey in that clip. And we just posted on Barstool Sports Instagram. We posted it everywhere like 3 days ago. And he texted me, he goes, "Tell me T Daddy's still rocking the 29 3 months later." I'm like, I was like, yeah, he wears it like every day. I'm like, he's wearing a jersey all the time. So like you definitely had that, you had the door open for you. We went to an Islanders game and we sat like 5 rows off the glass, and the team was staring at Trent from the bench. I got 3 messages, 2 on Instagram and 1 text being like, "Was Trent Daddy with you tonight?" Like we were all talking about it on the bench. This guy had a door opening to really find some love for this team because they love him. They do love him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Brock Nelson guy. I have that jersey and I love that jersey. There's just something about it that I can't go all the way into it. Especially, what am I going to go all the way into it when I got you? You're the Psycho Islander fan.
That's the perfect time, dude. Let's go. I'm constantly doing shit with Islanders. I could just bring you along. I'll come over, watch the games. Let's get crazy. Let's throw popcorn around the place.
All right, we'll watch
Let's
those.
nuts.
We'll watch those playoff games. That's what we're going to watch.
Oh, shut the fuck up, dude.
Nice.
That was me.
Fellas, see this right here?
Yep.
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at a Golf Pride grip.
Golf Pride MCC New Decade. I've been having those on my club since I was like 12 years old.
Oh, me too. I can't even fathom having a different grip on my club than this puppy right here. We're talking about Golf Pride. We're talking Golf Pride knows that a grip isn't only a grip, and this is an incredibly important part coming up. It's a piece of performance equipment, and it is the only physical connection between a golfer's hands and everything else that happens in the game of golf, which is insanely true and wild to think about. This is the only thing you have a connection with. This is it, this grip right here.
So I just got new golf clubs that I'm not allowed to talk about yet, but I will in the next probably week or so. And it came with the standard grips on them. And I'm like, I've been swinging them, and I legitimately cannot attempt to hit a golf ball until I put Golf Pride grips on them. I can't. It's something, whether it's mental or it's feel, they are the best grips out there, and I refuse to play a full round of golf without them in my hands because it's as important as the head of the golf club. It's literally the thing you're grabbing. It's the feel, it's the confidence, it's everything about the swing. So I couldn't be more Team Golf Pride if I tried. I'm actually going to place my order right now. You just reminded me I have to order them. So yes, I cannot wait. This is a huge ad read because I forgot.
I remember we went to when we did Scotland last year and we played with the old school golf clubs.
Couldn't hold it.
The grip, that was the big. I was like, dude, how could you possibly play without a fine Golf Pride grip? This just makes the game a million times easier. I'm seeing it here too on my trusty sheet. Golfers gained an extra 2 yards of carry when they played with new grips. Golfers gain confidence with new grips. So refresh your grips, refresh your game. Golf Pride, respect the grips, and yeah, I mean this puppy that I've been rocking right here. This has been my go-to as well, Dan, for like 10 years. Any club that comes that doesn't have this is pretty much unusable. So use the code Barstool. You're going to get free shipping on your next order at golfpride.com. No minimum purchase required. Expires December 31st. So you got a little bit of time, but it's golf season right now. You want to be ready to rock. So use the code Barstool. Free shipping on your next order at golfpride.com. For us, it is the St. Louis Blues and Tiger Woods are like on a level that is about as hard. We had season tickets growing up, and both of those teams, if you will, in this won the biggest thing they could possibly win in 2019. So that was, it's hard to really come down. Blues too. It's what I was saying here is like you need to a little bit to galvanize around the teams that you hate, like strengthens your love for your team. Like when Chicago people try to shit on St. Louis and how it's a shit city, and they make fun of like the baseball fans being considered the best fans of baseball. That galvanizes you to like hate your fucking rivals and therefore love your team more. And it's hard to get that if you're trying to like If you're trying to
Right.
force
Dude,
the
hate.
fans
I've
something.
always said that a Rangers loss is better than an Islanders win. That's,
Yeah.
I genuinely believe that. I genuinely believe that. I placed a $2,000 future on the Rangers on the Barstool Sportsbook. On the Barstool Sportsbook app for the New York Rangers to win the Stanley Cup this year, to win $26,000 just in case they do it. That it's a hedging your happiness moment where it's like, if they do somehow win the cup, I'm making 26K because I can't handle it without, like, I'm not like
Downside
rooting
protection.
for it. I'm not rooting for it. I hope I lose it. I hope it was. I sat down at the dinner table and I said, what's the price that I'm willing to pay for this team to lose in the playoffs? I'm basically purchasing a loss. And then it came down to like around $2,000. I said, I think I can swallow that. If I lose that money, it was worth it. That's how crazy. That's a lot of money. It was worth it. It was worth it for them to lose. If they win, I'll be the worst shell of a human of you've ever. I won't come on the podcast for months, and people are probably cheering right now listening to that. I won't come on the podcast for months.
We'll force you to. But
that will
I'll
be
be
the
a
worst
dead
thing that
person.
could happen to you. The worst thing that could happen to Frankie Borelli would be the New York Rangers winning the Stanley Cup.
By far the worst thing.
But the point
It's my whole life. It's like it's everything. It's like my father-in-law. It's everything. It's everything. It's everything around me. Out of a group chat of 10 buddies, I got 9 of them a Ranger fan. It's crazy. I can't get away from it.
But the point that he's making goes against my ultimate fandom, because when people shit on Long Island, I've been here 8 months. I don't feel anything. I feel nothing.
Yeah.
I think you need to go back to the teams that you had a love for. Be a Cowboys guy, you know? Like, just go all in on the Cowboys. They're getting rid of Zeke. It's the whole deal. Dang it. Come on.
Gosh darn it.
Rats.
You know?
Maybe.
What are you afraid of?
I'm not afraid of anything. You're acting like you being a huge Islander fan is super noble and like the reason.
No,
like,
I'm just. I think that you're.
I can enjoy
You've laid
sports.
out. You've laid out things that make you seem like afraid to be able to do it because of your age and location. You're like tiptoeing around the fact that you can't be a
ASL?
fan. That's crazy to me. I think you can absolutely be a fan. There's no
but I also
rules
don't
and
think that I would
regulations.
feel it. But I felt it. Like when I was a kid, I felt what it was like, and I don't think it'll be the same feeling.
Yeah, I guess we disagree. I think you could jump right in. I really do. I think with the access you have now, you can watch every game. You can watch practices. It's like you can sit on your couch and see every single fucking snap, every single moment.
It's got to be real,
than it used to
though.
be.
It's got to be real.
You got to make it real.
I guess. I just got to. I'm Rob Lowe.
What are their chances to make the playoffs right now, percentage-wise?
It was like 92% like 2 weeks ago. Then they lost 2 games in a row to the Lightning and the Hurricanes. And now I think it's like probably way below 50, probably 35, 40%.
Ooh, come on. I need that. I need that in my life. Yeah, I mean, I will say when the Blackhawks were winning cups all the time and they had Taves and Kane and they were like doing the parade, that was like the worst. As a sports fan, that's just the grossest thing on earth. And what sucks now what sucked in, Patrick Kane is probably my favorite player to watch the NHL. He's unbelievable. I love what that dude does. He's not like one of these guys that's gifted with like he's just bigger and faster than everybody. He's just skilled and creates space and he's shifty and he's fucking awesome to watch. So I'm excited he's on the Rangers, but boy, when he was on the Blackhawks scoring fucking OT winners and him and Taser, it was the worst thing in the world. So I'm happy that's over. I'm happy the Blues won a more recent Stanley Cup than they did.
Now the Rangers have Kane and Tarasenko. It's a fucking nightmare.
Are they playing well? Could they win
they're
it?
problem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Really
Oh
good.
yeah, they can win it. It's amazing they're still plus 1,200 or whatever on the
Well,
fucking.
that conference, dude, the Eastern Conference is insane this year.
I know they got to go through Tampa. You got to go through Boston, historically the best team of all time, 63 wins, right? At this point. So, yeah, it's not going to be easy. I mean, no matter what team you play in the East, the
Toronto's
Devils are
really
awesome.
good.
Toronto's really good. So, whatever, man. It doesn't matter.
We are far more interesting when the Islanders are in the playoffs as a group, because we get to
just-
watch Frankie
yeah.
Borelli watch the
Maybe
game.
I have it all wrong. Maybe this is not important. Maybe I should just go to like
No,
not
this
care
is
about
important.
sports. No,
This
it's
is
just
important.
like I guess grass is greener on the other side. I sometimes wish that like when the season ended, it's just like we'll get them next year. And I just can't do that. I got like another team that I need to lose now. And I'm going to watch that so intently that my life's going to depend on it. And like, I wish that wasn't the case sometimes, but then I sit back, I'm like, it's fun. It's fun to be in that mix.
Definitely,
'Cause
it's fun to care about something.
Gives you something to live for. It really does, you know? On a Tuesday night, if I know that game's at 7:30, I'm like, what else would I care about like ever if that wasn't happening? Like from at 2:00 in the afternoon when I know that that's coming on in 5 hours, that's like what I'm living for. You know what I mean? That's like
no, I think, and what you're saying is definitely true to, I would say, 99% of our listenership.
I have that with Manchester United, the soccer team, but that also soccer. With being a soccer fan, you kind of take pride in being a soccer fan, so it's kind of like a little
in America
counterculture
for
thing.
sure.
It's a little Rob
You
Lowe.
guys are
It's a little
fighting
Rob
a
Lowe.
tide. Yeah.
Yeah,
You guys
You
are
should
just
get
like,
a hat
watch
with just
soccer.
a soccer ball on it.
yeah, just the EPL.
I'll
the
say,
I
Lions.
see you
speaking
tweeting about soccer all the time. You're in the mix.
I love soccer. Soccer's the best.
And
It
you
never
ever take
stops.
calling it soccer.
Yeah, definitely. It
Yeah,
never
I like
stops.
that.
The best part about soccer is that it never stops. It's like you got the league season, and then you got the international competitions in the summer, and then it's the league seasons right again. There's basically no off season.
By the way, speaking of soccer in St. Louis and sports, the St. Louis soccer team, City, they tied the best start in the history of MLS. They're a brand new team. They're selling out every game. That's like taking over a bunch of my buddies in the group text. People are going fucking bananas about St. Louis City's MLS soccer team. So that might be something that has to pop up on my radar.
Some of these like soccer teams like go to not as big city, like not like Portland, like they get really when there's no football
Boston's
team.
really big.
Yeah, they get like a big fan base.
Is MLS like doing all right now? Because I feel like when like Philly was in the championship last year, that got a lot of buzz because Philly had a chance to like win all the major sports and even like the MLS. Like they lost, didn't they lose like 3 championships in one year? The Phillies, the Eagles, and the MLS team all lost in the same calendar year. It's just tough. But I remember seeing videos of that, of like stadiums filled to watch away games.
Yeah, I don't watch MLS to be honest with you because I only watch European soccer because it's not the best. But I know they're the first league I think that's like all on Apple TV. So it's like they went fully behind the paywall. There's like 30 teams, which is crazy because no other soccer league in the world has that many teams, and it definitely like waters down the talent level. But obviously, if they're like expansion franchises are popping up left and right, this league must be in a decent spot financially.
St. Louis is second in the Western Conference. They started 5-0. I think they've lost a couple games in a row. They're 5-2 now, but
they're building a ridiculous arena here for the New York Football Club, the
NYCFC.
Yeah, because they were playing at Yankee Stadium, and now they're building like a legit one. I'm pretty sure in Queens, like right next to where the Citi Field is. So
Sick.
It's got to be doing well if you're building a fucking $1 billion stadium or whatever it's going to end up being.
Billions.
All these stadiums are so fucking expensive and so crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I remember hearing that number about the new Islanders one. It was like $2 billion. I was like, what?
Like, where's that coming from?
What?
Is that is that where your taxes are going? How'd they pay for
I don't
that
want to
thing?
talk about taxes. It's really going to that library by my old house. I can't believe that shit.
Are you on a tax kick right now? You're a little rattled about taxes?
He's
It's
always
just
on, I
like
mean,
sometimes
yeah.
you see these things pop up. Like they put a fucking new library in my old town, and like I just think about like
With physical books?
Just Google
just
it.
like
you know?
Frankie hates books, by the way.
it's just like
you
$15
are
million
anti-book.
$15 million went to renovate this library. It was a decent library. The books didn't change. It was just shelves and fucking computers. And it's just like they like gave it a ridiculously modern look on the outside, and the floors are all fucking tile. It's just like, who is that really for? You know what I mean? Like there was already a library there. It's not like, why did it have to be renovated? And I just know someone had their
You think it's the same about the Coliseum?
someone had their hands in their pockets for that one, where it's like, oh, you're going to do this construction, and we're gonna rev it up to $15 million, and we're all gonna make a fucking payday off this.
%80 of people on this continent, on this planet, especially the United States of America, they're not drinking enough water to stay fully hydrated. That's 80%. 80% of people. If you're hanging out with the boys on a Friday night, Saturday, whatever it might be, you're having a couple drinks, that's going to dehydrate you. BioLite is the first physician-formulated rehydration drink to contain the same amount of electrolytes as an IV bags. You see people doing the IV, getting hooked up. They go to Vegas or whatever. They're doing that. They're going through all that trouble. Okay, you got to stick yourself. Ooh, gross. The whole thing. They're doing that. You just get
It's like
BioLite.
$1,000 too.
Oh, it's so expensive.
Yeah, it's
Very
crazy.
expensive.
You don't need that because BioLite exists. BioLite has 6.5 times the electrolytes than sports drinks. So you can imagine drinking 6 sugar-filled sports drinks before you teed off. You'd be a problem the entire day like Frankie is right now. You just need a BioLite.
I'm
ladies and
dehydrated.
gentlemen.
I'm dehydrated today. Everything that goes in me is coming out of me. I've got something going on, whether it's food poisoning or virus or whatever. I'm in one today, and I've drank 3 BioLites already. So I'm 6'12". I mean, I'm at 18 different types of sports drinks essentially by just drinking 3 bottles of BioLite. It's a necessity for me right now. Like legitimately, if I didn't have BioLite, like replenishing my electrolytes, I think I'd have to go to the hospital. I think I would be legitimately like a doctor would diagnose me with dehydration. That's how bad this situation is right now. So not only does it help on the golf course, but when you're in a pinch and when you got shit going on, no pun intended, you definitely need this stocked up in your fridge because you never know when shit's going to hit the fan.
It's also just delicious. BioLite's delicious. They've made some fantastic flavors. You could check out their newest flavor, Punch, a total sports drink game changer. Get 10% off your first case of BioLite's newest flavor, Punch, right now. If you visit drinkbiolite.com, use the promo code CLASSIC. Another shout out to the Barstool Classic. Love you. What a great idea. Get 10% off your first case of BioLite's newest flavor, Punch, right now. If you visit drinkbiolite.com, use the promo code CLASSIC. How about this? Here's this fact. Between 1886 and 1919, Andrew Carnegie's donations of more than $40 million at the time paid for 1,679 new library buildings in communities around America.
That's when libraries were like the way to access information.
Listen, I'm sure there's an argument to be made that it like helps progress society and people that don't have the means to have like all the access to information at their homes. They have to go to a public library. I get that. But I also think that like at some point in this day and age, if you crunch the numbers, I think that you could probably save some money on renovating them to $15 million. I think every school they go to probably has like a MacBook, or if you really wanted to try, you could figure out how to get that access. I think it was a crock of shit.
The reason I know that, Trent, is I don't know if I brought this up yet, but we're always looking for new docuseries that are similar to the Roman Empire and all that stuff. Yeah. The newest one that I came across is called The Men Who Built America. And I think I brought this up at some point. I can't remember exactly where.
That sounds cool.
The Men Who Built America. And there's like 10 or 12 episodes on YouTube. And they've got I don't think they were necessarily always History Channel, but they're on YouTube and they're under the History Channel on YouTube. And dude, they go from like basically the end of the American Civil War up until like World War II of how America transitioned from basically like the Stone Ages of the Civil War to the biggest superpower in the history of the earth, and how, the bigwigs did it. Rockefeller, Carnegie, all these just Henry Ford, all these badasses. And boy, is it fantastic. And then towards the end of it, they talk a lot about how these guys raced out to be like the richest people in the history of the earth. And then towards the end of their lives, they raced each other to be like the guy that gave more money than everybody else. And it took me a while because I was like, Andrew Carnegie, like I've obviously heard the Carnegie. And then I realized, dude, like in New York, like Carnegie Hall and Carnegie Library, like you hear and see
Carnegie
that
Mellon
everywhere.
University.
Yes. And you're like, holy fuck. And then they go through these guys' whole history of just battling each other on railroads, on oil, on electric, JP Morgan's a big part of like just these titans of like industry in the late 1800s through the early 1900s. And it's a very similar style of the shows that we like, where they've got actors that play out the roles, but they also kind of narrate it with some of these like historians and stuff. The only thing you have to understand is that the show is on YouTube, and it was clearly created to be on television, and you got to have the fast forward button ready at all times, because when they go to what should be a commercial break, but it's just not, they come back and they do like a recap every time for like a minute, and that'll drive you fucking insane. You're like, no, I know, I just saw that. Like I just saw that. I need you to tell me about it. So you got to be ready with the fast forward button, but it's excellent. You're going to enjoy it.
The Men Who Built America, is that what it was?
The Men Who Built America.
What's interesting about being in this part of the world, specifically like around New York City, is when you go to these golf clubs, like a place like Nassau Country Club and all these old school golf clubs in New York, you see in the clubhouses all of this history of guys like that, like Carnegie and Rockefeller and all of that. Like I know at Nassau, all these like big wig billionaires, they made that their country club. And that's actually where the origination of the Nassau came, because like they would see in like their newspaper that another club was putting up better scores than them. Then they came up with a system on how to like beat them, and it was the Nassau. So I remember we were supposed to do it behind the greens at Nassau, and they have this fucking historical book of just every like fucking person that basically built America that like at that time was like coming through playing golf. There was a railroad that went through there and they would take them from the city to the golf course. So it was really, really cool. If you go to some of these old school New York, around New York City golf clubs, you can see all these scorecards signed by them. It's really cool.
Well, that was the old like Hamptons. That's where people used to go to vacation because it was before they developed all of Long Island. So like the Great Gatsby, the 1920s, like the East Egg, I think it's like exactly Great Neck. Right. Yep. So it's like it used to be like that's all they had to go to get out there to the country.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
Vanderbilt. You just mentioned like railroads.
Cornelius.
Vanderbilt's another one. Yep, he's another one that is a huge like figure in this whole series. And dude, it is all of what you're talking about is they just basically talk about all of that, except in the context of like the business titans at the time and new innovations technologically are coming out like all the time and how they would just pivot and then destroy other. It's fucking crazy town, like how good it is. So I think you guys will enjoy that. The men who built America.
Mm-hmm. All right.
All right. RBC Heritage this week on our YouTube channel. Little update. We've got Thursday now. We've got Down the Clown with our boy Trotty. We haven't seen Trotty or heard from Trotty in quite a few months. So Trotte, Indian food connoisseur, if you're over in Europe, is back with us. We do this Down the Clown video. We're basically trying to hit hard stingers at this giant contraption that TaylorMade came up with.
It's really cool.
It's a very, very cool video.
It's like a carnival game. You ever been to a carnival? You gotta throw balls at a clown. We did it with golf balls and golf clubs.
It was really fun. So that video is coming out on our YouTube on Thursday. And then Monday now, we're going to have our Masters Week vlog. So we did a live show. We were around Augusta. We had Niall Horan came into our Airbnb and did an interview with us. And we were just in and around the buzz at Augusta National. So a little behind the scenes, a little bit of stool scenes-esque. It's a vlog. So we're not necessarily vloggy people. I guess we kind of vlog our golf rounds. This is us vlogging our little week in Augusta for 3 or 4 days. So that's coming out on Monday. So go subscribe, Foreplay Golf on YouTube. We obviously put a lot of stuff on YouTube. Matters to us if you watch stuff on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube. Those are our next 2 videos coming out on YouTube.
Yeah,
fun time to subscribe, and obviously thank you to everyone that played with our characters and watched our live stream yesterday.
What was the takeaway from your give me the brief takeaway from playing as yourself in a video game?
It's wild,
it's bizarre, wild, and awesome.
It's really cool, really, really, really cool. Just having your guy. Pretty blown away at how realistic the guys are and how they look. I'm also pretty blown away at just how inherently funny it is when you're in a bad spot or you hit a horrific shot with a character that's just you. It was very fun. Yeah.
We say we're in a simulation all the time, but this is actually factual.
You're simulating.
We actually are in a simulation.
Yeah, no, the response has been great. For my guy, I know people are trying to break 90 on legend mode. They're struggling. Some guys are doing it. Some guys are not doing it. I called myself this, but the virtual bat donut, because if you play with my guy, and then you play with somebody who's way better than I am, like a professional golfer of Tiger Woods on the video game, it's way easier. So if you play with my guy, if you want to get really good at the game, just play with my guy on legend mode. And it's going to be so difficult that when you play with someone who's a higher level than I am, like a professional golfer, it's going to be way easier for you. So that's something you can do if you want to get really good at PGA Tour 2K23.
All right. Yeah. Big thanks to 2K, PGA Tour 2K23. It's insane that we're in the game. We're right next to Tiger Woods. The courses are so realistic. I'm chomping at the bit to get onto our next live stream because I found something. The last 5 holes at Pebble Beach. I found something, found my rhythm, found my swing a little bit. So I'm chomping at the bit to get back out there. Frankie took us down handedly, beat us by like 10 shots. So congratulations to Frankie.
Thank you. And I shot an 86. You shot like a 94, and then Trent shot a what?
Yeah. 105.
Yeah. So it was real golf. I mean, it's when you play with our characters, we're like at best. Me and Riggs might be like a 70 overall at best if you take all the attributes, and Trent's like a 47. So I mean, it's really, really hard to play well.
I just saw Trevor Immelman just texted us the picture or the tweet from Sir Nick Faldo. So
Trevor Immelman just goes, "Hey Riggs, the knight is throwing shots at you," and he sends the tweet of Sir Nick Faldo going at fucking. Yeah, it came across my desk and I was taken aback. I was like, "Wow!" And the way he tweeted it, he just tweeted. He basically retweeted some random person making a comment about it. Did you notice that?
No, that's that guy who made a comment is this guy Jamie Corrigan, who's a British golf writer who's he's like one of the old school golf writers.
Oh, okay.
Man,
I didn't even click on him because I saw he wasn't verified.
I missed it completely. The whole thing.
Yeah, I missed that too. But
this guy whose name is literally Joe Schmo goes, the barstoolification of golf continues. Those guys suck.
Those guys fucking
Someone called me the Brooks Koepka of Barstool. Did you guys see that?
I saw that.
That was fucking hilarious.
They're like, because they were asking about like why does Lurch play in the scrambles instead of Danny? Which, by the way, the answer is pretty obvious, and I think we've probably talked about it. Where Danny's really good.
You guys have more chemistry with I know what this is. We're past that.
Right. And that guy was like, he had thought about it a lot, being like, I think, now that I'm starting to think about it, I think he's the Brooks Koepka of foreplay. He regrets his decision.
Yep.
And this is just what we're living in. It's like,
totally.
wow.
Brooks Koepka of foreplay. That's me.
People think a lot about that stuff, apparently. It's pretty wild.
It is
wild. That got people going. All right. We'll be back next week live from Zurich Classic. We'll be down there. So hope if you're gonna be in the area in Nolens, come out to the tournament, TPC Louisiana, check it out. Barstool Sportsbook, Zurich Classic. We got our own merchandise there. We're gonna be hanging with people. Other than that, have a great weekend. Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.